The post-apocalypse is a pretty eerie setting in video games, but it's given us a ton of great experiences. Today on Chaos Gaming, I want to check out and go over 20 of the best post-apocalyptic games ever released, and there are hundreds, maybe thousands, so you let me know which are your favorite. Drop a like, turn those notifications on, guys. You can turn them on partially or you can turn them on all the way, but you want to ring that bell so you never ever miss an upload. And at number 20 today, Mad Max. It's an obvious one. I mean, it really is. It was released in 2015, and yes, it was based on the film series of the same name. You, of course, played as Max as you ventured around this post-apocalyptic wasteland, and you tried to find gear, upgrades, things like that for your vehicles. It was a very raw sandbox type of game, that actually turned a lot of people off because they found it boring, and that's certainly, it's a valid criticism. It's not a game for everybody, but if you're down for a slower-paced and simpler open-world game, I think Mad Max will draw you in with its atmosphere. The exploration was good, the progression was good, and, of course, the fan service. I think it's a good way to get going today. At number 19, Enslaved, Odyssey to the West. Now, you've probably never heard of this game. It's a game that maybe a few of you remember. It was released 11 years ago, and the game tells the story of a group of human survivors trying to survive 150 years after a massive war wipes out most of humanity. It leaves machines in control of the planet, kind of like Terminator. That's how it always ends up. Or The Matrix. It was developed by Ninja Theory, the same people who made Hellblade, and even featured performances from Andy Serkis and Lindsay Shaw. Now, Odyssey to the West is actually a really good game. It's a unique one. If you're looking for something in the single-player experience category, give it a go. At number 18 today, Stalker, Shadows of Chernobyl. Now, raise your hand if you're hyped for Stalker 2. I'm raising my hand. The game launched back in 2007. It did not hit mainstream success levels, but it is getting a lot more attention now that the long-awaited sequel is right around the corner. It takes place in Chernobyl, of course, after the second nuclear disaster wipes out almost everything that lived there and does some pretty disturbing things to whatever survived. So you play as a man hired to go into this forbidden zone and kill a mysterious target. In the gameplay, it's very non-linear. It encourages lots of playthroughs. Plus, for a 2007 game, it was extremely impressive in terms of graphics. So if you're planning on playing Stalker 2 in a few months, go check out the original. It's a good game and it'll get you ready for what's coming. At number 17, DayZ. Now, it's been around forever, I know, and it's never managed to get a positive user rating on Steam, but it has remained one of the most popular games on the platform. Multiplayer survival game set in the remnants of a zombie apocalypse. You drop in unarmed into the map, and you have to venture around looking for weapons and survival supplies. Now, the goal of the game is simple. Survive for as long as you can, as you'll be fighting the natural elements, the undead, and yes, other human players that you'll come across who may or may not see you as a free loot dispensary. It's up to you. Do you shoot first, or do you play friendly? It's super buggy. There's a lot of problems with it, but it's still pretty cool. And there's a reason why thousands upon thousands of people have stuck it out after so long with DayZ. At number 16, 60 Seconds. You may not have heard of this one. We'll try to go over it in 60 seconds. Released for the PC in 2015. It's a dark comedy. It has you playing as a family who's told they have 60 seconds to gather as much supplies as possible before a nuclear bomb hits and destroys everything. Then you have to survive for as long as possible. The game actually started as a simple tech test for the Unity engine, but after the playtesters loved it, the devs decided to release it on Steam as its own game. 60 Seconds has also been remastered on PC and ported to the console, so give it a look if you want a post-apocalyptic game that actually has a sense of humor. That doesn't happen very often. At number 15 today, Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, the world of Horizon Zero Dawn is interesting. It takes place in the 31st century after a series of disasters leads to a robot uprising and sends humanity into hiding trying to survive. The atmosphere, it's pretty unique compared to other games on this list, but I still think it belongs here because of the great storytelling and the unique gameplay. You played as a girl named Aloy, trying to get to the bottom of her family history as well as the origins of her world. It's one of the best games to come out on the PS4, and now it's been ported to PC. You have lots of ways to play it, and the sequel is right around the corner. Well, kind of right around the corner. At number 14, The Last of Us. Come on. Often called one of the greatest Sony exclusives of all time. Third-person shooter, stealth game, a man on the run, escorting a girl, zombie apocalypse, kind of zombie apocalypse. Now, throughout the game, you face infected creatures as well as human survivors you already know. It was raw. You know, the presentation, the storytelling, it was very refined. Well, it was raw and refined, if that's possible. The game is great. It's only a matter of time until we get a PC release, and I'm actually excited to see what the modding community will do with it. At number 13, you can't have a post-apocalyptic game list without Fallout 2. Now, it's super different from the Fallout you and I know and love, but it was really good. This entry in the franchise is from before Bethesda took over. Instead of being a first-person RPG, it was a top-down top-down with more emphasis on the dialogue and decision-making. I don't think that makes the game any less deep or immersive than the later ones, because Fallout 2 is incredibly deep, and it's a complex RPG that many people still consider to be the best in the entire franchise. So if you love the world of Fallout, but you want something a little different from the Bethesda stuff, go give Fallout 2 a try. You may just fall in love with it. At number 12, Gears of War. It was a surprise hit for Microsoft. It not only brought a lot of people to the 360, but it also completely reinvented the third-person shooter genre as you and I know it. Now, in this universe, the strange species of mutant has burst out from underneath the planet's core. It kills most of humanity. You lead some of the few survivors in this desperate attempt to stop them before it's too late. It's actually aged really well in terms of gameplay. Now, I know the graphics may look a little muddy today, but they were groundbreaking back in 2006, and hopefully Gear 6 can get the franchise back on the top of Microsoft's library, because the series, well, it's fallen off since the Xbox 360 days. At number 11 today, Dying Light. Raise your hand if you're ready for Dying Light 2, eventually, one day. I mean, on the surface, Dying Light looks like just another first-person zombie game. Once you dive in, though, that's not the case. Much deeper, much faster-paced gameplay, features more dynamic combat, and even a parkour system for better traversal of the map. The story, it's actually pretty simple, but it's decent enough to excuse to keep you playing, and the gameplay is ultimately what you're here for. Dying Light was extremely addicting, and since there's a co-op focus as well, and the devs continue to update it, there's actually hundreds of hours worth of content. It's still alive and well in 2021, and the sequel, whenever we get it, should be good. Now we've reached the top 10. Wasteland 3. Yes, set in a post-apocalyptic Colorado. Yep, Wasteland 3 has you playing as a small group of Arizona Rangers who were ambushed while investigating the remains of a disaster. From that point on, the game becomes about staying alive and working to take down those who attacked you, while also getting to the bottom of what's actually happening. The gameplay is kind of a blend of RPG and turn-based, squad-based combat, which makes it super unique, and the atmosphere is pretty darn good. It's a fun game. It's worth a look if you want something a little out of the ordinary for your normal post-apocalyptic genre. At number 9, Telltale's The Walking Dead. It's been in business for a long time, Telltale that is, but The Walking Dead is the game that put them on the map. Based on the comics instead of the TV show, smart move. Telltale's The Walking Dead is a choose-your-own-adventure type of game that has you playing as a man named Lee who gets caught in the beginning of the zombie apocalypse. From that point on, you, or Lee, you have to guide each other and engage with other survivors who are trying to make sense of the world they live in and what they should do next for survival. I mean, The Walking Dead had a few seasons, and people debate which is the best. They're all great experiences for the most part, and they're all worth a playthrough if you've never tried them. At number 8, these games are stunning looking. Metro the entire series. It's an FPS series that's been around for a long time and has always been critically acclaimed, but it never really hit the mainstream in terms of popularity. It takes place in Moscow following a nuclear war that forces what remains of the human race to live in the metro tunnels to avoid radiation. From there, the world gets increasingly tense and hostile as order is scarce and people are desperate for survival. It's a fantastic franchise. It's worth a look if you've never tried it. It's the perfect blend of tense first-person shooting, engaging storytelling, and even some survival horror elements thrown in there to keep you on your toes. Just get ready, though, because if you go down the wormhole of Metro, you're going to be playing for a while. At number 7, Death Stranding. This game got split reception upon release, but it's garnered a healthy following. I wasn't truly a fan of it. It's weird. Extremely weird. But the short version is you're a post-apocalyptic delivery guy trying to get from hideout to hideout while avoiding various hostiles and environmental conditions. It's not a game for everybody, but a lot of people have found hundreds and hundreds of hours worth of enjoyment. I mean, the atmosphere, the progression, the world building, it's a deep game. So I'm sure we'll get a sequel that fleshes things out even more, because I think the world has a ton of potential. It just wasn't my cup of tea. At number 6, Doom Eternal. I think this counts as post-apocalyptic. Does it? Launched in 2020, sequel to the fantastic 2016 series reboot. In this game, demons from hell have invaded Earth, killing off 60% of humanity. You heard me right, 60%. That's it's a precise number. That's the human resistance has gone into hiding, basically admitting defeat. But guess what? Not the Doom guy. Not Doomslayer. Crashes the party. You already know. One of the best first-person shooters of the decade, perhaps of all time. Fast-paced, skill-based, tons of replay value. It's fantastic. If you haven't tried it, you're missing out. And now we've reached the top 5. At number 5 today, Frostpunk. Released for the PC in early 2018. It's this unique blend of survival and a city simulator. It takes place in an alternate version of the 19th century where a series of massive natural disasters plunge the Earth into volcanic winter. It's up to you to help the remaining humans build a city. You got to find resources. You got to stay alive. It's very unique in the sense that you'll get lost in it. If you're a fan of city simulation games, but you want something off the beaten path, it's cool. It's been ported to the PlayStation and Xbox systems, so you're probably not going to have any trouble giving it a go. At number 4, Nier Automata. Now, if you've been alive for the last few years, you've probably heard a lot about the game. It's a spin-off to the Drakengard series, but it plays differently. In fact, I don't even think you guys, you probably don't even know what Drakengard is, honestly. The game is set in the year 11945, after an apocalypse. The world mainly centers around a proxy war between human-made androids and a different machine army from another world, although the story follows a combat android named 2B as you play through these various conflicts and see her start to struggle with her existence. It's an intelligent game. It asks really deep questions about humanity and consciousness while also giving you a super unique gameplay experience that honestly requires multiple playthroughs to see it all. It blends RPG elements, hack and slash, shoot 'em up, and even some old school text adventures. It's fantastic. It's actually a diamond in the rough. At number 3, Left 4 Dead 2. Now, zombie games, they come out every month now, but none of them will ever live up to the hype or the sheer fun factor of Left 4 Dead 2. You guys already know. Small group of survivors, you go from location to location, kill thousands of zombies. The levels will subtly change every time you play. It gives the base content some replay value. Plus, there's an awesome multiplayer mode that people are still playing to this day on the PC version. Plus, on top of that, it's one of the most heavily modded games in the world. There's literally an endless pit of content available for this game. But even if you never download a single mod, the base content will keep you going for a long time. People have been playing Left 4 Dead 2 for over 10 years, and they're probably going to be playing it until, let's be honest, when the world ends. At number 2, Fallout 3. Now, before Bethesda bought the license, Fallout was a top-down RPG with elaborate storytelling and world building. Once Bethesda bought the license, they brought their gameplay foundation of Elder Scrolls to the world of Fallout and gave us an amazing experience that many people call the best in the series. It was a beautifully desolate experience that you could lose yourself in easily as you walked around for miles without even seeing an NPC. Fallout 3's gameplay, world building, and replay value are top tier. It's definitely one of the best games Bethesda has ever made, and one of the best post-apocalyptic games ever made as well. But speaking of Fallout, at number 1 today has to be Fallout New Vegas. Maybe it'll cause some arguments in the comments. I don't know. Many other people will agree with me. I just think it's slightly better than Fallout 3. And if we're talking about New Vegas, I would even call it the best post-apocalyptic game ever made because it's at number 1. It took the foundation of Fallout 3, but it made the world a little more active and a story a little bit more elaborate. The writing and dialogue of New Vegas was top tier, and the gameplay of Fallout 3 was brought over. Plus, do I even need to go into all the crazy stuff people have done with mods? It's a masterpiece of an RPG, and if you ask me, it's not only the best Fallout game, but it's the best post-apocalyptic game of all time. If you made it to the end of the video, I truly appreciate every one of you. Let me know one game that didn't make it that should have. I'll see you soon.